But something that Chase said, like this is a weird little exception. You said grass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that grass, you got to mow it, you got to care for it, fertilize it, you got to do all those things. We've noticed one thing in our projects in Houston, Texas. I wish we could get all the grass out of there, right? Because it's expensive to water in that market all the time. And it's Houston. There's all kinds of weird bugs and stuff in the grass. And, where we live here in Utah, kids go out and they play on the grass. It gets green in April, right? It starts to fade by October. But you get 6 months out of the year where people are playing in the grass. They're soccer or whatever games. In Texas, it's a place they call them chiggers, right? And all kinds of bugs. And you don't want to be on the grass nearly as much. So I think when we talk about the landscape and the amenities, what's the standard and what's good, popular locally, but also don't let that sacrifice being creative.
Back to grass. So one thing that was interesting is we had a conversation down in Lake Powell last year with some friends, and they were saying like St. George, so a location south of Salt Lake, southern Utah, a lot of people down there are doing AstroTurf.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give it that look, right? And it's still pleasant for people to look on. We obviously, I haven't experienced that in any of the projects that I've been involved in. I haven't seen that, but maybe that's another option for some people where you're not having as many bugs. Obviously, there's some maintenance to that. I don't know.
Maybe something we do in Arizona, but does that get too warm or too hot?
These people actually put sprinklers that came up through it, so it kind of defeats the point of wasting the
water,
water, right? But I don't know. I know a lot of people are going to xeriscapes. That's what a lot of Arizona is more of a xeriscape, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I think you do need some kind of an area, even if it's in the tot lot area, for kids to play, if this project lends itself to
a bunch of kids.
Yeah, younger demographics.
Yeah, if you're doing like an infill build for rent apartment building like near downtown in some major American city, that's much less of a concern. But if it's that kind of garden style, you're spread out over a lot of acreage, you have to have somewhere for people to run around. But we spend a lot of money on water in Texas, and we may tear some of that stuff up and do xeriscape. A lot less maintenance, and I think that walking trails instead is probably something that tenants like a lot more. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, because if you have little kids, that's a great place for them to go ride their scooters or their skateboards, bikes, something like that, where it's not in the street. You're not telling them to go behind the units and drive in the alleyways.
I think it comes down to who is your tenant.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's a 55 and older community? What if it's a larger apartment complex? What if it's townhomes? Whatever the case is, who is going to be your consumer, the tenant?
Yeah, how do you find that out?
By doing your research ahead of time and who you're trying to target. Comes down to what you're looking to build within that area and what makes the most sense.